Have you ever just, stopped and wondered about the ultimate origin story? I mean, not just where life came from, but everything. How does nothing actually become something? How does existence itself pop out of a void? It's one of those questions that can really make your head spin a bit.
It absolutely is. Probably the most fundamental question there is, really. And for this deep dive, we're going to try and unpack a really fascinating model. It's from Reese Freeman in a paper called From Nothing to Everything, a 4-term ontology of becoming.
Okay, so our mission today is to kind of dissect this ontological model. And just quickly, ontological basically means it's about the fundamental nature of being, of existence itself.
Right.
And this model, it traces how reality emerges through 4 stages, from total void all the way to volitional reality choice.
Yeah, and it weaves together ideas from all over. You've got philosophy, metaphysics, even neuroscience and quantum theory in there.
It really does. It feels like a shortcut almost to understanding this huge mind-bending concept that people have wrestled with for, forever. So, let's dive right in.
Okay.
So our journey starts with term 10, naming the void. Now, when the paper talks about zero here, it's not just like an absence, 0 cookies in the jar, that kind of thing. Yeah. It's presented more as a metaphysical horizon, like a fundamental boundary point where absence and potential presence meet.
And convergence point.
Exactly, a point of both divergence and convergence, but with no actual content itself.
Right. And what's really interesting is how this connects to philosophy. Thinkers like Sartre and Heidegger, they didn't see nothingness as just empty space. For them, it was almost an active condition.
Active? How so?
Well, it's what makes negation possible, our ability to say no. And ultimately, they saw it as the very foundation for freedom of will. It's not just passive emptiness. It's got this potential.
That's a big shift, thinking of nothingness as active. But I wonder, for listeners who are used to thinking of nothing as just, nothing, does the paper explain how this active nothingness avoids just becoming something itself? How does it stay the potential, the foundation?
That's a really sharp question, and it's key to the model. Freeman basically suggests that 0 is the metaphysical precondition, the absolute starting point. It's pure potentiality.
Okay.
The nothingness is so complete, it holds the seeds of everything that could be. It isn't a thing, but it's the condition that allows things to emerge. Like the ultimate blank slate. It can give rise to everything precisely because it has no inherent form or limits itself.
Ah, okay. That makes more sense. It's the lack of limits that is the potential.
Exactly right.
So moving from that foundational 0, the paper says we then naturally hit term 2 duality, emergence of polarity. So once you have this 0, this potential, the contrast emerges, like positive, negative, presence, absence.
Precisely. It just sort of unfolds from that limitless potential. And this idea, this duality, it's not just modern thinking, is it? The paper connects it to older ideas.
Oh, absolutely. The model points out how this resonates strongly with ancient Taoist ideas like yin and yang, or Buddhist concepts of emptiness, which, again, isn't quite nothingness, more like potentiality. And even in something as fundamental as math or like computing.
Binary code.
Exactly. 0 and 1, on and off.
Yeah.
You absolutely need that basic contrast to build anything complex, any information system.
Yeah, you do. Duality brings in contrast, and contrast is just essential if you want to establish any kind of relational identity. Things defined in relation to their opposites.
Right.
It builds the infrastructure, you could say, for all complexity. It's the formal aspect, the structure that allows for definition, both in how we think and how reality itself might be structured. Without contrast, you can't distinguish anything.
And no distinction means no information, no meaning.
Pretty much.
Okay, so we have the void, the potential. Then we have the contrast, the dualities.
Yeah.
But the model says duality on its own is still kind of incoherent. It needs an observer.
Yeah.
Which brings us to term 3 observation, the binding witness.
Right. Consciousness.
Yeah, conscious awareness acts as this integrating third term. It binds the opposites together through perceptual unification. It's almost like consciousness is the universe's glue, making sense of the contrasts.
That's a nice way to put it, the universe's glue. And it really underlines how vital this third element is, not just as an idea, but for our actual experience of a coherent world, trying to imagine reality without that binding.
Yeah, it's like an orchestra with everyone playing different tunes.
Total chaos.
And what's really compelling here is that contemporary neuroscience actually gives us concrete mechanisms for this binding. It connects these, very deep philosophical ideas about consciousness directly to what's happening in the brain.
Okay, that's where it gets really interesting for me, bridging philosophy and brain science. How does the paper link them? What specific neuroscience does it mention? Well, it points specifically to thalamocortical dynamics. These are basically recurrent loops, signals going back and forth between the thalamus and the cortex in the brain.
Okay, I've heard of those.
Yeah, and they're seen as crucial for creating unified conscious experience. And it's not just one niche theory either. Big ideas like global workspace theory and integrated information theory, they also really support this view of consciousness as an integrative process, something that pulls together disparate bits of data into one unified awareness.
So the biology seems to back up the philosophy here.
It really does. This is fundamentally the consciousness part of the model, connecting the abstract concept to, actual brain activity.
Which then leads us, logically, to the culmination. Term 4, choice. Emergent will and agency. So once you have awareness, agency follows. This fourth term, choice. The paper argues it's not just thinking about options, but the act of choosing itself is the core act of creation.
That's a powerful idea. It suggests our decisions aren't just passive responses, but they're actively shaping what happens next, shaping reality.
And again, there's a neuroscience link here too, right? How do our brains, our neural networks, actually support this capacity for conscious choice?
Yes, the model ties it to how integrated information in our neural networks allows for self-referential processing, thinking about ourselves thinking, basically.
Yeah.
And that capacity underpins conscious choice. So again, it's not just some abstract philosophical notion, it's linked to our neural architecture, how our brains integrate information about the world and ourselves.
And this resonates with philosophy too.
Oh, absolutely. It connects deeply with existentialist philosophy, where freedom, real freedom, is seen as emerging from our awareness against that backdrop of nothingness, of pure potential. The act of choosing is agency emerging from the ground of being.
So pulling it all together, what does this mean? This final term, choice, it underpins volitional emergence. Action, it highlights how our ability to choose isn't just incidental, it's fundamental to how reality actually unfolds.
It's the bridge, really, from pure potential through awareness to actual manifested experience.
Wow, okay. And then the paper does something else really fascinating. It maps these four terms onto traditional metaphysical systems. There's this table showing elemental dimensional directional correspondence.
Yes, this part is incredibly suggestive. It links the four terms to concepts found across many cultures and traditions.
Okay, let's quickly run through that. So term 1, 0, that's linked to ether, and 0 dimensions, like a point. And the direction center.
The origin point.
Then term 2, duality. That connects to air, representing one dimension, a line, and the directions east-west.
The axis contrast.
Term 3, observation, linked with water, representing a two-dimensional plane, and the north-south directions.
Interesting. Water often symbolizes consciousness or reflection.
And finally, term 4, choice. That corresponds to fire, representing three-dimensional volume, and the up-down directions. Action, maybe?
Exactly. Fire as transformation, action, will. And this mapping, it just resonates so strongly with elemental cosmology and directional metaphysics you find in ancient Greek, Egyptian, Vedic, even indigenous systems.
It really does. It makes you wonder.
The implication is pretty profound. It suggests a kind of universal pattern of emergence, something that different cultures across time and space might have intuitively grasped. They arrived at similar frameworks independently.
Which really speaks to the multidisciplinary alignment the paper talks about. This whole four-term sequence seems to click into place across different fields.
Yeah, let's just quickly recap that alignment. Ontologically, you have 0 as the metaphysical starting point.
Right, the ground of being. Formally, duality provides the necessary structure and definition.
Contrast. Then for consciousness, you have the neuroscience thalamocortical dynamics, neural networks supporting that observer function.
The binding witness. And finally, for agency, you have integrated information and existential ideas underpinning choice, volitional action.
It's quite remarkable seeing it laid out like that, how these different perspectives seem to converge.
And the implications go even further, don't they? The paper mentions connections to quantum mechanics.
Yes, particularly the idea of wave function collapse through observation. The idea that observing a quantum system seems to force it from a state of potential into a definite state.
The observer effect.
Exactly. It also connects with resonance-based theories of awareness and other metaphysical theories that see reality as layered, interactive.
It really makes you ask, what does it mean when so many different areas, ancient philosophy, modern neuroscience, quantum physics, all seem to be hinting at a similar underlying structure for reality?
Hmm.
Does it maybe suggest that consciousness and choice aren't just things that happen to emerge from complexity, but maybe they're more fundamental, perhaps even ontological forces woven into the fabric of the universe itself?
It's a compelling thought. It definitely points towards a deeper, unified pattern, a kind of fundamental blueprint for how existence unfolds.
So just to wrap up the core model, Reese Freeman's From Nothing to Everything gives us this really cohesive, cross-disciplinary picture of emergence, step by step, from nothing to duality, then consciousness, and finally agency or choice.
And it's a model that feels right at home with both ancient ways of thinking and, cutting-edge science. A powerful framework.
And the paper even hints at where this could go next, suggesting future work could explore a fifth term, manifestation.
Right. That would be the stage where choice actually solidifies, turns into matter or experience or a concrete creation. It would complete the cycle from the abstract void right back to an embodied, tangible world.
Which brings us perfectly to our final provocative thought for you today. Considering this whole model, if choice really is presented as the core act of creation, implying this journey from thought to form, from abstract void to embodied world, what does that suggest about the creative power hidden within your own everyday decisions?
Something to definitely chew on.
Absolutely. Think about that until our next deep dive.